The first thing I noticed wasn't the power drill in her hand. It was the way she smiled after I made the joke. It wasn't an embarrassed smile or an angry one. It was the kind of smile that carried years of quiet strength. Standing in the bright summer sunshine outside a small house in a peaceful neighborhood near Asheville, North Carolina, I chuckled and asked, "Still no husband?" I expected her to laugh with me. Instead, she looked straight into my eyes and calmly replied, "I'm waiting for the right question." In that single moment, I realized I knew absolutely nothing about the woman who had been my neighbor for nearly 3 years. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may need them today. My name is Caleb, and at 38, I believed I understood people. After serving in the military and spending years working as a home renovation contractor, I had convinced myself that life could be measured by accomplishments. Marriage, children, promotions, bigger homes, those were the milestones I quietly judged everyone by, including myself. My wife had passed away 5 years earlier after a brief illness, and although I rarely admitted it, I hid my loneliness behind humor. It was easier to joke than to grieve. My neighbor's name was Abigail. Every Saturday morning, she worked alone in her yard. She repaired fences, planted flowers, painted shutters, and built furniture without asking anyone for help. The neighborhood admired her independence, but people also whispered about her. Some assumed she was too picky. Others guessed she had been unlucky in love. I had never bothered to ask. Instead, I accepted the stories everyone else created. A week after our awkward conversation, a violent thunderstorm swept across western North Carolina. Powerful winds knocked over several trees, and one crashed directly onto Abigail's old wooden shed. The next morning, I walked over with my toolbox, expecting to rescue someone overwhelmed by the damage. Instead, I found her already cutting broken branches into manageable pieces. She thanked me warmly and accepted my help. But what surprised me most was the peaceful confidence she carried even while facing destruction. As we worked side by side, conversation came naturally. She spoke about woodworking, gardening, and the joy of restoring forgotten things instead of replacing them. Hours passed before I finally asked the question I should have asked years ago. I wondered what she had meant when she said she was waiting for the right question. She rested her hands on the broken fence and quietly explained that everyone always asked why she wasn't married. Nobody ever asked whether she had been loved, whether she had loved deeply, or what life had asked her to sacrifice. Years earlier, she had been engaged to a kind man named Matthew. Only months before their wedding, he had been diagnosed with an aggressive illness. They spent his final year traveling to hospitals instead of planning a ceremony. She cared for him until his final breath, never regretting a single day. After losing him, people constantly encouraged her to move on, as though love could simply be replaced. She wasn't waiting for a husband. She was waiting for someone curious enough to ask about her story instead of her relationship status. Her words settled heavily inside me. I realized I had been guilty of reducing an entire life to a single missing title. Over the following months, our friendship quietly grew. We rebuilt the shed together, planted fruit trees, and organized neighborhood volunteer weekends to help elderly homeowners with repairs. Soon, families who had barely spoken before were sharing meals and lending tools. Children rode bicycles through the streets, while neighbors gathered under shade trees telling stories. Abigail never tried to become the center of attention, yet somehow she became the reason strangers became friends. Watching her transformed something inside me. My grief slowly became less about what I had lost and more about what I could still give. I stopped measuring success by what was missing in my life and started measuring it by the kindness I offered others. My late wife's memory no longer felt like an anchor holding me back. Instead, it became a quiet light guiding me forward. Nearly a year after that unforgettable afternoon, our community dedicated a new neighborhood garden to Matthew's memory. His name rested on a simple wooden plaque surrounded by blooming roses. Abigail stood silently beside it with tears in her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from gratitude that someone she loved would continue inspiring kindness long after he was gone. As we watched children laughing among the flowers, I finally understood her answer from that first day. She had never been waiting for the right man. She had been waiting for people willing to ask the right questions. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever judged someone before knowing what they had been through? Please share your thoughts or a personal experience in the comments. Your words might encourage someone else who needs hope today. As the sun disappeared behind the Blue Ridge Mountains, I thanked Abigail not for teaching me how to build a stronger shed, but for teaching me how to become a better human being. Sometimes the greatest love stories are not about finding romance again. Sometimes they are about learning to see another person's invisible scars with compassion instead of assumptions. The questions we ask can build walls, or they can build bridges. That day, I finally chose to build a bridge. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of the power of kindness and understanding, please consider liking this video, sharing it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribing for more heartfelt stories. Remember, every person you meet is carrying a story you cannot see, and sometimes one thoughtful question can change two lives forever.